Welcome to the Women Living Well After 50 podcast. I'm Sue Carrick and I'm passionate about inspiring, motivating, supporting and informing women over 50 to embrace this exciting time of life. Health and wellness in mind, body and spirit are the foundations for living well, but there is so much more to a life well lived. Each week, through conversations with my guests, I'll be presenting topics that will help us all to live well and enjoy life. So join me as we discover new ways to become women living well after 50. Are you ready to start living? What are you waiting for? Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Women Living Well After 50. I'm Sue Carrick and it's lovely to have you join me. Now, have you been thinking about starting back into a fitness exercise routine? We all know that we have to exercise, we have to move, but sometimes it can be a little bit daunting, especially if we haven't done it for a while or we've had a few aches and pains that have prevented us from even wanting to start. We feel nervous, we feel we're not sure if we can do it, we're not sure what to do. My guest today is Peta Gillian, CEO and founder of Strong Healthy Women. And Peta has helped thousands of women over the last 20 years to be fitter and healthier and more active after 50. Today, we're going to be discussing the foundations of fitness, what that means, and the essential elements to help you get started on a healthier lifestyle. So let's go and join the conversation. Well, I'm delighted to have the lovely Peta Gillian from Strong Healthy Women join us again today. We've had a few conversations and the interviews I do with you, Peta, are always the most popular. So let's do another one today that's going to be that way. So welcome.
Oh, thanks, Sue. It's my pleasure to be here. Oh, that's really lovely that they're the most popular. So hopefully the ladies that are listening will get something out of it today.
And I think I was just going to say that I think the topics that we talk about are relevant to women over 50, and also you always have some takeaway points for them. So I think that's why they're popular. So we'll go for another one today, shall we? We're going to be talking about fitness foundations. And I know that you pretty well experienced in that. I'd like to say you're an expert in fit or a specialist in fitness foundations. And I think that there's a few things we want to talk about today around that. So let's just, I think women want to start new exercise routines, or they've had a few aches and pains and they're a bit scared or whatever to start one, and they don't know where to start. So I want to actually come back right to the basics and ask you, what is fitness? Because people say, oh, I'm fit, or I want to get fitter, but I just wonder what your definition of fitness is.
Fitness is just our ability to be fit, healthy, active, to do a particular type of activity. So like if you're a marathon runner, then you're going to be looking for that level of fitness, as an example. If you're a skier, then you're going to want the appropriate amount of fitness for that, So it's wide and varying, but it just means that you're able to do whatever it is that you physically want to do. And we all know that as we get older, we get that little bit scared of the fact that we might end up being stuck in the house and not being able to get around, or stuck in that dreaded nursing home. And so, moving and having that ability is such an important aspect.
And even just, as you say, marathoners and skiers, we don't all have to be that. Just the basic things, spending time with our grandchildren and having that, I think, being able to keep up with them without feeling that you've got to sit down and watch them do things rather than being involved with them, because you get breathless, you just can't keep up with the little ones running around. So I think that's part of it as well, isn't it?
Oh, it totally is, and over the years, like it's almost 20 years now since I started working with women, and what I've learned is it seems to fit into 3 categories, playing with grandkids or dancing at grandkids' weddings, or the other one is travel, being able to put the cases up in the overhead lockers and carry them upstairs, and all those types of things, as well as those beloved sporting activities and hobbies, so we've got golfers and tennis players and people who play bowls. But in order to do those things, you have to have that ability. And that probably leads us to, well, what do you need, really?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So if someone is wanting to, as I said, they've got aches and pains, or they've just haven't exercised for a while and they've thought, oh, I better get into it. What do you think they do need to get started?
Well, the first thing I would say of anybody who's starting out is that you're aware that you're ready to make a change. And it's really important that we gravitate, to be aware that we are actually gravitating to things that are fairly easy to do. So we'll head to walking as an example, because we know it. So we don't like to get too far out of our comfort zones, because walking is very, very familiar to us. So that would be that natural place where we start. But the reality is that we need 3 components, and they are endurance. So we need to keep our heart strong. We need strength. So you've alluded to this already. We need to be able to lift those grandkids up, and our washing basket as a practical example as well too. And we need to have the flexibility to be able to get down in those kitchen cupboards and get back up again. So there are 3 key elements to any type of fitness program we're going to start. And if you think about the topic that we're talking about today, which is fitness foundations, if we were to say, I'm going to start with walking, there are a couple of key elements that can very much be missed in this. Because if I don't have a strong core, then what's going to happen is that I'll start to get this little lean forward thing happening when I'm walking, rather than standing up over my body. The other thing that's going to occur is that we can start to reduce that range of motion, because we don't have that flexibility or mobility in our joints, and we don't have that strength in the muscles. So that's where those 3 key elements are so important. So if you think about it, Sue, I always put it into this space, is that think about and really hone into what's important to you. What do you love? What do you want to do? Then what do you need to do in order to support that thing that you love and enjoy?
And you were just saying about walking. Now, that's a good example, because everyone thinks, oh, I can go walking. But really, to do it properly, I suppose you do need those elements that you're talking about. And we don't realise that we're using those elements when we just go for a walk. We go, oh, I'll just go for a walk. And so, those key elements of fitness we need even for a basic walk. So, I think that's an important point. And I know we've covered this before. I just want to digress for a sec about, we did a great episode on the core and what our core is. But I just wondered if you could give us just a real brief explanation of our core, what we should be thinking of when we're doing that. And I know you do a course on that, but just a very brief outline.
Yeah, I mean, we tend to think about the core as just being those gorgeous things with their lovely little 6-packs, their stomach. And let's face it, most of us girls over the age of 50, we don't want to do the work that it takes to get like that. We just want to be strong in our bodies. And so our core is a series of muscles that all link together. And so I always like to say that it's where all our power comes from. And it's basically this area of our torso from, if we take out our legs and our arms, it's pretty much this middle section. So, and all those muscles wrap around the body. And so it goes from the front through to the side and through to the back. But then there's a top and a bottom. So it's a bit like a box, really. And so if we don't work all of those components of the box, then what's going to happen is we start to, get a little bit wonky on our feet. We start to bend forward a little bit more. We don't feel as strong as we used to. And like sitting is a classic that can really make us aware that our core isn't strong as well and really impact it as well.
And I know myself, if I'm not engaging my core, that lower back pain can come into it as well. So it's very important to have that strong core, especially if you have got back pain. And I'm sitting here now, as you said, when sitting, and I'm suddenly engaging my core and pulling the belly button to the spine.
I think about it all the time, Sue, because you can feel it. Like I'll be sitting at my desk and then all of a sudden, you feel the rib cage starting to come down, you feel it's, in your body.
Yes.
It's like, oh, okay, I'm not engaged. I'm not sitting up. And, engaging your core is something that we need to be conscious of. And can I just digress here and just explain how to do it?
Yeah,
just
sure.
Really simply. There's a lot to it, but basically if you just pull your belly button through and think about it hitting the wall or going back to your spine, but then think about also pulling on a pair of jeans and actually, doing up that zipper. So you're drawing your belly button in, but you're lifting it at the same time. So that's going to start to engage that transverse abdominis and start to really support your body. And so it's as simple as that. And you can do that when you're sitting.
It's just a matter of being aware, isn't it? And just focusing on that. So we've talked about what fitness is and about the fact that, even doing walking or perhaps yoga and Pilates, would you say we need to have those three key elements in our foundation before even trying those?
Yeah, look, any type of fitness routine that we're going to start, we need to understand the basics before we head into it. Now, look, so I'm actually certified in Pilates, and one of the things that I know about myself is when I first started to do that and get that certification, and they started using all the technical terms and everything like that, it was like, I don't know what they're talking about. And even though I had that level of experience, it was just going straight over the top of my head. And I could actually do those exercises without engaging my core. So it really comes back down to being aware of what happens in our body and really linking everything back to those basic foundations that are essential to us.
Yes, yeah. And as you said, the three key elements are strength, endurance, and flexibility. So we need to keep our body strong, and that would also help with our stability, balance, that sort of thing. The endurance is being able to keep up with those grandkids and or walking up hills when you're sightseeing. I remember my husband, we were in Italy and I think we were on the Amalfi Coast, and we'd gone out to dinner and we had to come home, and we were walking up this really windy, steep hill, and he kept saying, "Oh, how much further?" And I'd say, "Not that far," knowing that we still had a bit to go. But it was, it was starting to get to him. He was getting a bit breathless. We'd have to stop. So, that endurance to be able to do those sort of things when we travel because the world's opening now again. So we need that. So I think we need to also touch on why women are reluctant to work out.
It's really interesting when you start to delve into it. About 50% of us are over the age of 50. We're scared to go and work out because we're embarrassed about our body shape. And that statistic just blows my mind, really, because the thing is that we're all different shapes and sizes, and it doesn't matter where we're at. This is just where we are. And I always like to reframe this and look at it and say, well, what is it that your body can actually do for you? So there are so many things that it does for you. And if you can start to appreciate it rather than having that negative outlook on it, then you're more likely to then do something to help yourself change that body shape that you might not like so much. The 46% Sue don't work out or are scared to work out because they have physical hindrances, aches, pains, niggles, and they think that by exercising that they're going to be aggravating those. But if you are aware and you have a diagnosis of what that is, and you go to a fitness professional or, an allied health professional, and you start working out with them, then they're going to know the right way to help you get the results that you want, but still keep you safe and not aggravate any of those aches and pains that you've got.
Yes, and can I just point out there that, I know in Strong Healthy Women, before each week you give us we have the exercises for the week, but there's always alternates for those alternate ways to still be able to work out, but for people who perhaps have an injury or, a certain ache or pain, and they're a bit, prohibitive from doing the full exercise. So there is always an alternate, isn't there?
Oh, there totally is. Yeah. Look, we've had ladies who have still worked out with broken ankles and all sorts of things. We just modify it so that they can do it on their chair.
Yeah.
So there are definitely always ways. There is a third reason that stops us from exercising, and that is that mental barrier. Now, that's a big one. And if you think about it, there's so many reasons we can tell ourselves. We might know them as excuses, but I don't have the motivation, I don't have the time to do it. The list goes on and on and on. But the reality is that we have this body, and in order to be able to do whatever it is that we want to be able to do, not just now but in the future, we need to just start and start with the basics. Yes.
I think people feel that they have to do things that are beyond their capabilities, and that's an easy excuse then to say, oh, well, I couldn't do that, or I can't do that at the moment. But even with, as we've said, there's always an alternate. But I think also that mental barrier comes back to the body shape. Yes, you're concerned about your body shape, how you look, but also I think if you worry about what other people are going to say. If you walk into a gym or if you go to a class or something like that, it's about, everyone's going to look at me, when in actual fact, no one's looking at you because they're trying to do their workout or they're doing their own thing. But we have this, self-consciousness that stops us from, I don't want to put out workout gear, because I don't like the way I look. And I think that's an issue, and that's where working out online, and I'll give Strong Healthy Women a plug here, that's where working out online is good, because you're doing it at home, and you can be in your own home, in your own comfort area and feeling comfortable, and still have a trainer there watching you and telling you what to do. So it's not a pre-recorded thing. It's a live class. But if you do feel, oh, look, I don't want to go because everyone's going to be looking at me, well, people are too worried about looking at the camera, at the, at the trainer. So they're not going to be looking at you. And you don't, that could be a good way to start if you're feeling a bit self-conscious or nervous about starting a new exercise program.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head there, Sue, because when you're working out, you don't really worry about anybody else. You're not looking at anybody else. You're just doing what you need to do. So that particular barrier should never be there. But I think the other aspect of that, Sue, is that we often compare ourselves. So we think that somebody else is moving at a certain pace, so we should be going at that pace too. Or someone's lifting a certain weight, why can't I lift that weight? And then we start beating ourselves up. So yeah, we need to just stop those thoughts that are in our head and just take action. Just do it.
Yeah. And so that's right. So we've made the first step. Let's just go through, we've touched on the 3 key elements of fitness, but let's have a little chat about what the foundations are in terms of, that's something that's very important. And we know what fitness is, but what is fitness? What are the foundations of that?
Yeah, I'm so happy that you asked this question, Sue, because it's really important. Because look, I know that for most of us, we head straight to step 2 and step 3. And so if you think about it, you may not have been exercising, you may never have exercised, or you may be coming back after a long break. And so you used to go and do cardio sessions as an example. And so what happens is you go, okay, that's what I know, that's what I'm comfortable with. So off I go and I do those sessions. So I've gone straight into the power stage of it, but we haven't really thought about, well, have I set my body up so that I can support the power I'm about to go into that? So that's step 3. So we've gone straight to the end result. So it happens like this. We want to start with stability. Then we move to strength, and then we move to power. So if we start with stability, stability also covers off mobility, flexibility, and balance. So it's learning how to use our body, stabilize our body, get our body moving in the correct manner, so that we can then start to build up strength. If you think about it, if you've got an imbalance in your body and then you go and lift heavy weights, then what's going to happen as a direct result of that is you're going to end up with some type of injury. It may not happen straight away, but it could definitely happen, some point down the track. And then what happens is we get this injury and we think, I'll just give it up because it hasn't worked for me, or I'm just getting injuries over and over and over again. And the reality is that we didn't start at that very basic level, which was to stabilize and understand how our body functions in the first place.
Can I just ask you, you've said mobility, flexibility, and balance equals stability. So what's the difference between mobility and flexibility? Because I think some people get a little bit confused about that.
Yeah, okay. So if you think about, if you stood on one leg and you lift your knee up towards your chest, as an example, and so how the range that you can get that to, wherever you can get that to, that's mobility. Okay, so that's how much mobility you've got in those joints and those muscles moving together. So now if you stand on that one leg and you lift that knee up towards your chest and you take your hands and you pull that knee in towards your chest, that's now flexibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the two basically work hand in hand.
Yes.
So we think we need to stretch for flexibility, but the reality is that there are so many exercises for mobility to help our joints and our muscles work together, which will give us flexibility.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And also balance. Now, that's important, and one that I don't think people really think about very much until they go, oh, feel a bit woozy, or I was walking along and tripped over my own feet, or whatever. So what can we do about our balance?
Stabilize your core. Start at the beginning, go back to the foundations, because it all comes from actually holding your body in the right manner. So if you stabilize your body and you understand how it functions, then you're going to improve your balance.
Yep.
So one of the things that will happen is if you go to stand on one leg, that's a great balance exercise, then you'll start to get that little bit of, sway maybe from side to side. But if you then do that little test or that little trick that I explained earlier, which is to draw your belly button in and up, you now have this stronger power coming from the middle of your body, and you'll find that you'll be able to balance. And look, so if you haven't been doing any balance exercises, we want to start with the core, but then there's certain stages you go through in order to learn how to then slowly get that foot up off the ground so that you can improve that balance. And you'll notice it in things like you're having a shower. So, you'll sit down to shave your legs as an example, or you'll lean against the wall, or you'll go to take your shoes off and you'll sit down to take your shoes off, whereas you used to stand up to do that.
Yes. So I think we take our balance for granted, and the fact that we have to work on it, especially as we get older. We do have to maintain our balance. Otherwise, we'll fall. We have the usual, you fall over, you break a hip or something like that. And then depending what age you are, you're out of action, or and it really can affect your quality of life. So balance important. So that's our stability. So then you move on to strength. So let's talk about that, because I think that people think, oh, strength, I've got to get to the gym and look like Arnie Schwarzenegger and be lifting, doing those.
We love Arnie though.
Oh, well, we do. But Pat, I don't think people really understand what strength is. So if you wanted to talk about that too in the foundations.
Yeah, look, strength is just our ability to be able to do practical things around the house. It's just being able to, for example, pick up your washing basket when it's full of towels off the ground and lift it up to the trolley, as opposed to putting the basket in the trolley and then wheeling it to your washing machine and then putting it straight in. So there are so many practical aspects where we use our strength every day. And if we're not strong and we're not stable in our body, then we start to get that kyphosis, or that leaning forward, the chin poking out and the rounded shoulders. And then we're starting to look at the ground more than looking forward. And that's something that, I can see Paul going through right now. And I go, oh, stand up straight. I'm always giving him this reminder, because that is going to impact his balance. It's going to impact his strength and his ability to move. And so it's really important. And it always comes back down to, I always say that the most critical thing that we can ever do, the most important stage, is awareness. Because if we're aware of what's happening, then we're in control of doing something about it.
Yeah, that's a great point. So the foundations, we've had step 1, stability, which we need to start with. Then step 2 is your strength. And then the one that you say people usually go to first, but should be towards the end, is power. So what's involved in the power?
That's getting that heart rate up, so that if you think about it, you might start with a plank as an example. So, and you're learning how to stabilize your body. From there, you might move into, let's say, a Russian twist. So you're adding in that extra bit of strength into it. But then you might move into a crossbody mountain climber. So therefore, you've now got that stability, you've got that strength, and now you've got the power that you're adding to it. And so it's just that step 1, step 2, step 3, rather than skipping to step 2 and step 3 and putting yourself at risk of, more aches and pains, because we certainly don't want them, because most of us have probably got some over the age of 50.
That's right. And you've actually, we'll talk about this later. I'll put a link in the show notes, but you're actually going to be giving away today your never fail way to start exercising with aches and pains. So there's no excuse. So that's going to be available to listeners, and we'll talk a little bit about that later as well. So we've said that we usually skip that step 1 of stability. We've gone to power. So let's just recap on, you've explained what fitness is. We didn't really talk much about why. Did you want to just touch on the why of fitness foundations?
Oh, so look, it comes back down to, if you think about what fitness is, that ability to do the things that you want to do, that really boils down to what is your why. So why is it important to you? And I was talking to our group of 28ers the other day, and so we were specifically talking about, what's your health and your fitness and well-being vision, like where is it in 6 months' time? Where is it in 20 years' time? What is it? And the ladies were writing down their notes of what they thought it would be. And then I gave this example. I said, okay, so here's an example. Here's a vision that I have in my head. I'm an 80-year-old woman, and I'm on the ski fields. And I'm skiing from the top of that mountain down to the bottom. And I said, there are so many things going on with me right now. I said, because as a child, there are 2 things that I loved doing. Well, actually, there were more than 2, but there were 2 things that sprung to mind right then. So riding my bike down the mountain and just flying down like there's no tomorrow, that sheer exhilaration of it. That's what skiing does for me. Like flying down that mountain, I'm back on that bike as a child. And then the other thing that I used to do was climb trees, and I'd sit at the top of the tree and all would be right with the world. And I'd just feel like I was the queen of everything. And so when I get to that top of that mountain and I just look out over everything that I can see, again, that comes back down. I've got those feelings, those emotions, and you can hear it in my voice as I'm talking about it. I'm excited about it. So that's my why. That's what I want to be able to do, when I'm 80. So, 20 odd years time. But to do that, I need to be able to have a stable body, a strong body, and I need to have the power in my body, which means I've got to do those 3 elements of fitness. I've got to do strength, I've got to do flexibility, and I've got to do endurance training. So it comes down to, why is it important to you? And the ladies actually said to me, I'm so glad that you gave us that example, because I wrote down, I want to be strong, I want to be mobile, I want to be fit, I want to be toned, I want to stay the same weight, all those types of things. And I said, they're the stock standard things, and that's what we hear all the time. But when you can truly, truly connect to why it's important to you, then you are more likely to start it. You are more likely to continue with it.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I think we give it a bit of lip service. Where do you want to be? Or you just write down the basics. You don't go to that deeper level of really looking at examples and why you want to do it. So that was a great example there. The other thing is we need to probably know, and I would think in your foundation program, that you need to know where you are right now, don't you? So you have a baseline of where you can go to. So how do you go about finding out where you are now?
Yeah, there are many fitness exercises you can do to see, how many push-ups can you do in a minute, and how long can you hold a plank. They're all really great things. But if you think about the practical aspect of it, there are, let's say, 3 key things that you can do at home. And those 3 key things are sit to stand and stand to sit. So when you have a stable body, you're going to sit and stand strong. When you've got good balance, you're going to, yeah, that's exactly right. And check in with yourself. Get into that awareness stage. Are you putting a hand down when you go to pull yourself up? Maybe you're not doing it when you pull yourself up, but maybe you're putting it down to feel the couch when you go to sit down. So they're all signs that there's something there that you need to start working on, stabilizing that body and building that strength in your body. So then there's the washing basket. We love the washing basket because it just is that dead set giveaway. So, check yourself, go and put that washing basket on the ground and fill it up with wet towels. Can you pick it up from a squat, not a bent position, but from a squat? Can you get it up to the middle? Now, can you take it up over your head? So that's going to tell you about your range of motion, how your body's functioning. And then the other thing is stairs. So the movement aspect of it. Can you walk upstairs? Can you walk downstairs? Are you holding on to the railings? Can you run upstairs? So there are obviously various levels of things that you can do, but there are 3 things that you can actually do, like right now, today, in your home.
Yeah, and the walking up the stairs would also help with your power, or to see how your heart health is, because if you're walking up just even stairs at home and you're feeling breathless or you can't get up them, then that's giving you a sign as well. But that's not to say that you can't do anything. There's nothing you can do about that, because there is. So we're sort of coming towards the end of our conversation. I was just going to say, go on.
Can I just jump in about the stairs as well too, because one of the things that I often hear about stairs is that I have a lot of trouble going upstairs because my knees start aching, or I'm feeling that noise. And so one of the things is that we're pushing into the knee. We're not using those glutes to power up when we're going upstairs. So if you just think about, put your heel down first and use the power in your body, that's going to help with that pain that you might be having in the knee as well too.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so as I said, we're sort of coming to the end of our conversation, and we've covered a lot today about the foundations, but I just wondered, if there's someone starting out there today, perhaps they need someone like you to help them to get started. So what are some closing points that you might have, or if you want to tell us a little bit about your program, or what you could do to help some listeners who are wanting to get started but they just need someone to hold their hand? I'll open that up to you to have a chat about that now.
Look, so there are so many aspects to leading that healthy life that we want to lead. And so starting out, I'll always say, come back to getting support, because we all know that when we actually have someone walking that same path with us, that we're more likely to stick at it and feel like we're not alone, because we do often feel like we're the only one going through something. And I can tell you now that if you've experienced something, I've probably experienced it too. I've had I've got degeneration in my spine. As a young person, I had a lot of issues with my knees. I've had broken ankles, all sorts of things going on. So I know what it feels like to have those aches and pains in the body. And I think that's important, is when you go to find someone to support you, like get yourself a good personal trainer, then you want to know that they've walked the path, or they've helped people who have been down that pathway before, so that they understand it and they can feel those feelings with you, and that they can help you continue to improve and move forward. So one of the things, Sue, is we're going to give away that guide today, which is really taking everyone through those fitness foundations, the stability, the strength, and the power. So that guide is really going to, just help the ladies understand that a little bit more as well too. And there's a couple of little videos in there, so that's sort of like will explain a little more as well too. And of course, then there are the opportunity, if you like, Sue, we can put up a link to organise a call with me. If you like. Would you like to do that? Yeah.
Yes, okay, I can include that.
Yeah, okay. So let's put up a link as well too, so that if the ladies want to have a quick coaching call with me for 10 minutes, I'm happy to do so as well too. So we can talk about specifically where they are at right now. And so I might be able to just give them a couple of little tips, one or two, so that they can get started right now.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea, because just having a chat, everyone's different. So you can talk generally, as we've done today. We've given general advice and general information. But if you really, have certain things that you want specifically, it's always better to talk to some professional about it. And I know that we've got some ladies at the moment in the sessions who have got some health issues or injury issues, and you've been talking with them one-on-one, which gives you a better understanding of what they need. And also I think it gives people a bit more confidence in the person that they're talking to, and it helps people. I think when you're talking, you might think, oh, I forgot about that, I'll mention this or I'll mention that. So I think it's a good idea to put that link in for people who might want to have a chat with you and a bit more specific. So anything else before we go? We've covered a lot today.
We have definitely covered a lot. Look, so I would really, really love to see every woman over the age of 50, get out there and, feel confident in their body and know that it's going to support them, later in life and not just now. And it really does come back down to start moving and understand those basics of your body and start with the foundations. That's really what it's all about. So yeah, yell out if you need some help.
Okay, well, that's great. So thanks so much for joining us today, Peta. As always, lots of information and good advice there for us to stay healthy and active, especially over 50. And for the listeners out there, thanks again for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the episode and you've got a few takeaways there. Give Peta a call if you would like to have a chat to her. And remember to share the episode with a friend, because I'm sure that you've got some friends who would certainly benefit from listening to what Peter had to say. I'll have another guest next time, but in the meantime, remember to live well, enjoy life, and most of all, be a woman living life your way. Thanks for joining us. Bye, Peter.
Bye, Sue. Bye, ladies.